We are live on
Look, I'm in the dojo.
we are live on Twitch and we are live on YouTube and Facebook. Hello, various places. Hello. You said, look, I'm in the dojo.
Yeah, see, black belt's behind me.
Oh, I can't see it.
Oh, dang.
Hello,
Hello.
everyone.
Am I doing the intro or are you doing the intro?
You are.
Oh, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Story Ninja Dojo with the New York Times bestselling
Oh, I
author.
wish it was New York Times.
Oh,
Gosh.
I'm sorry. I've been doing a lot of research, so everything's been
Ooh,
NYT. USA Today bestselling author Allie Cross, who will
that's me.
someday will be New York Times.
Yeah, baby.
And your ever faithful award-winning author and hunter. So, for finger
Hey.
guns
Um,
while I eat on camera. I'm so sorry.
You're eating and I have a mess, so.
Whatever.
And I had lots of energy this morning, but I feel a little this
Oh, I'm sorry.
it's
Well,
okay.
is it dreary there? Like outside?
Yes.
That usually gets me too.
Yep. It is.
We would never survive in Scotland.
Oh my gosh. Which is ironically what sort of what we're talking about today. I mean, so so we're focusing this month on mythology and fairy tales and specifically the myth of the luck of the Irish, I think. Although I am not prepared to talk about that because I actually have no idea where that comes from. Um, I wanted to, so when Ann and I sat down and we're talking about um, what we wanted to talk about each month, I thought this month was good for it because of St. Patrick's Day, because I think of St. Patrick's Day and then I think of family and family stories and such. But
Wow. Oh, can I comment on that?
yeah,
When I think of St. Patrick's Day, I think of leprechauns and my ancestors and kelpies and bargesht and
see?
all sorts of and denestre and corned beef and potatoes.
Yeah, it's family and myth and the stories that we learn from families. So last week, I kind of razzed Anne a little bit because she had the lesson and it was 30 minutes and supposedly we're here for an hour. And I was like, near, near, you should do a real lesson. And then what do? I don't have it. I mean,
Hypocrite.
I know. So that's why I'm saying it on camera so that
You own up to it.
I'm owning up to it. And
That's okay. We can fill an hour.
well, it's mostly the conversation that I am here for. So
Yeah, same.
really, truth be told, I am here because I love Anne and she is awesome and I have fun with her. And we don't get together. And like this past week, we didn't even talk once the whole week. So I need this scheduled date with Anne so I can see her. So that's why I'm here. And I
Well,
had
yay.
I just did it under the guise of, hey, let's do a YouTube show together. But really, it's just for me to hang out with Anne. Um, so I'm having lots of big feelings about family and stories and stuff right now. My Aunt Jean, she is my mom's sister, my mom's only sibling, and the only one living from her family that I know. So my granny and grandpa, mom's mom and dad, are from Scotland and but their kids were born here. So they came over by boat, I think around 1929 or 1930 to Canada, not to the States. Um, and so my Aunt Jean, who I don't math, so I think she's 75 or something, I don't know. And she has Parkinson's. And if you don't know, Parkinson's is a degenerative neurological disorder. Um, and, you know, she's not going to be around forever. And she lives far, far away. And so I felt like I had to go see her sooner rather than later. So, Anne, I am going to go see my auntie in
Cool.
June. Yeah.
In June. Awesome.
Yeah, and so we actually spoke on the phone today, my Aunt Jean, and she was asking, like, what did I want to do or what did I expect? Because I just sort of sprung it on her. I'm like, hey, I'm coming. Um, but honestly, what I want is to sit and hear whatever stories she can and feels up to telling me
Yeah.
because that is like I feel like I don't know all the stories. I want to know all the stories, and I'm not going to. In 5 days with her, it's not like she's going to be talking to me 24/7. It's not enough time to get all the stories. But, um, back when, like, my mom died in 1987. So, sure, some people were keeping family records or whatever, but you just didn't write stuff down quite as faithfully as
Hmm.
I was going to say today, but I suppose it's because of the church I belong to that I really focus on it. But until then. So, anyway, so we're thinking a lot about family stories. So, what does this have to do with mythology? So, I didn't know. I don't know. Do you know what a myth is? I looked it up. So, this website is called it's carterhawschool.com, but it's really cool, these two gals. They both got their PhDs in mythology and folklore, and I don't know, magic found each other and now are best buds and run this school for mythology or fairy tales or some such. I don't
Cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So they had a quick test on how to tell if it's a myth, a legend, or a fairy tale. Okay, what's your guess, Anne? What do you think a
Uh,
myth is?
well, if you want to go through all three, fairy tale would be something kind of like Aesop's Fables, where it has a moral to it. Legend would be um some truth to it, where like King Arthur, that would be a legend. And we actually did have a King Arthur. We don't know if there was a Knights of the Round Table, but um, there's some truth to legends. And then myths, I think, are kind of like old wives' tales where people make up stuff based on legends and fairy tales.
Okay, that is pretty much what I thought too. And we're close. We're close. But so a legend is and it is okay, so they say the best way to tell if a story is a myth or a legend or a fairy tale is to ask the question, what is the truth status of this story? In other words, how true is the story? So, legend um, sort of sounds true, but it leaves you sort of wondering, is this real? Or did this really happen? Like King Arthur or Slender Man. Those are legends. I totally believe I mean, I like Anne. There is a King Arthur. He did live around that time. He was so who knows? Was there magic in the world at that time and that he banished from the world as the story goes? I don't know. you'd have to read my book series, The Knights of Myth and Magic, in order to find out because
Nice
they're
plug.
all, except they're not published.
Oh, dang.
So, you know,
Work on
but
that.
there you go. I've said it out loud now. They are about what happens to the Knights of the Round Table centuries later. Not really. So, anyways, kind of sort of. But it's all based on it being true, essentially, is what I'm saying. So, a fairy tale is not, generally, we know it is not true. Like when you hear a version of Cinderella, you're not really prompted to wonder, did this happen? Like you kind of know it's not true, especially since they usually have set in a magical world or there's some sort of magical property or otherworldly something. But I'm with you, and I think that a fairy tale is set apart by the moral, because I feel like most fairy tales have a moral. So they might not be a fairy tale sounds so fun and happy and stuff when really like they could be caution they're more cautionary tales
Go
than
read the
anything
German
else,
ones.
right? Yeah. And then a myth is okay, I'm going to read what it says. It says true, a myth is true in a profound way for the culture that tells them. Myths are sacred stories, often about the origins of the world or the universe, or the way the world came to be the way it is. Myths are often set during the creation of the world, or at a distance from the everyday. So, like that would be like it's
I think a
more
good example of
religious
that would be
almost.
like origin story with like the Greek gods and the Titans. That would be a good example
Exactly.
of myths.
Right. Because they the stories are such that it kind of sounds like it could have happened, and Atlantis, a myth. Um, in Ireland, it's the Tuatha De Dan, bleh,
Tuatha
Tuatha
De
De
Danann.
Danann,
Yeah.
who are their gods. But what I love about myths is when, to me, they're sort of like a legend in that I do still wonder, is this really true? Because, um, but like, I I love it when you can see myths overlapping from different cultures and different times, and then you start going, there's something to that. Like, Anne, did you know that one of the explanations of the Tuatha De Danann is that they are fallen angels?
I did not know that. I heard that I don't know if I'm confusing them with the Dagda, but one of them were a race of giants.
So
And,
the
and that's also where we get those big basalt pillars, Giant's Causeway.
yeah,
Yeah, with Finn
so
McCool and
the Dagda were like so in Irish mythology there's like four cycles of gods, kind of, and I think they're generally considered to be all members of the Tuatha De Danann, which were like the original gods. But they thought one of the things is that they were the angels that were not, okay, I shouldn't have said fallen because that's not quite right, that they were angels who didn't pick a side.
okay.
So in the Great War in heaven, there's Jesus, he's going to come, but then Lucifer's all like, no, I'm going to go.
I'm the core
And
brother.
yeah, and they like, ugh, God likes me best, da
Yeah.
da da da. And the people who like Lucifer were kicked out and sent down here. But maybe there was a group of people who were like, I like both these guys. I like both the plans. So, and they became the Tuatha De Danann. So, godlike in this world and with godly powers, just like the angels who are said to have come down um, to help early man and everything. The ones who purportedly had sex with humans and then made the Nephilim. Um, so that's kind of what the Irish maybe think their gods are. Um, so I thought that was cool. That's I liked that concept because um, that's an overlap of story, you know?
Mm.
Like you've got two cultures saying that they are angels, like who were sent down from heaven to live and whatever. That's interesting. Um, some of the so, but here's like a very personal myth. I guess it would be a myth. Um, I grew up totally believing that my grandpa had been a, a page in World War One and had so he was um, running messages across
Enemy lines.
dangerous, yeah,
Wow.
and he got his pinky blown. He's there was an explosion and he lost his pinky.
Hmm.
That is the truth, according to Allie, because that was the story I was told. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I learned that almost all of my siblings and I have different stories. And the actual truth, like in somebody's story, it was bitten off by a horse, which may actually have been the real reason. It seems
Hey, what if he was riding the horse to get the messages across? I mean, it could be both.
the general consensus is that it was a farming accident. But I still, like in my heart, when I think of my grandpa, I think of him like because I can't compute that
Hmm.
because the story as I heard it is one way and that was the truth. And so then hearing it a different way, it's like, I mean, that's plausible. That's more plausible, whatever. But I like my story. So, so myths can be even stories that are told and passed down in your own family that maybe were true, but you know, um, but maybe not. Do you have any myths from your family or that you love or anything?
I know that my mother's great grandfather immigrated from Ireland, and I'm like at least 14% Irish.
Uh-huh.
So that was one of the reasons I got into fairy tales, because I wanted to explore my heritage. As far as myths and stuff go, I don't really have any, but I do have really fond memories of spending the summer with my grandparents. And in the morning, I would crawl into bed with my grandma, and she'd tell me tales of when she was growing up and the various animals they had. And one funny one, I always remember is her neighbor uh came over, and she said, Barbara, that was my grandma's name. My son came home. He was like 6, 7, whatever, ran home panting, terrified, pale, and he goes, Wilf, mama, Wilf, Wilf. And she's like, what are you saying? Wilf, mama. And he's trying to say wolf.
Mhm.
And my grandparents had a cottage in the woods. It was beautiful on the lake, and they had um a dog that looked like a wolf. So then like eventually the mom realized, oh, you're talking about their dog. Wilf, mama, Wilf. The boy who cried Wilf.
Yeah. Um, ah, I miss. my granny had some good stories, especially she had Alzheimer's. And so she was actively remembering stuff from her childhood, but she also reverted in her accent. So it became more and more,
Pronounced.
yeah, like could not understand her for the life of me. And the last time I visited her, she went on and on, like telling us some sort of story, and I caught like every other word. She'd always had a strong accent, but that was yeah. So I'm like I am 99% Scottish and Irish, like, and the other 1% is British. Like, I am as white as they come and whatever. So, my granny and grandpa on my mom's side grew up, lived in Scotland, and came over when they were young adults, like in their early 20s or something. I don't actually know. And then my dad's grandpa, so my great grandfather and his family came over with during the potato famine. So I think specifically they came over in 1890 or so. Um, but I know almost nothing about the Irish side. I only know about the Scottish side, and I grew up doing Highland, Scottish country dance and Highland dance and the whole bit. So, but that was all. I wished I'd had more stories, so I'm hoping Aunt Jean can tell me more stories.
Finger crossed.
Yeah, finger crossed. So, I did remember why it's called the Luck of the Irish. What the whole, I don't know what I mean, St. Patrick's Day is when this guy came in and he was a monk and he's preaching Christianity
And
and
chased out all the cool people, aka
to
pagans.
to Ireland, and they were like, "We don't believe you. Go away. We don't need your religion." And he was like, "Well, what if I could prove to you?" And they said, "Sure, prove it." And he got rid of all the rats, supposedly, and which were very problematic. So that's what St. Patrick's Day is about. And the luck of the Irish is about leprechauns. So, what do you know about leprechauns, Anne?
I know enough Fae stories to know that you do not walk through an archway in the forest. Do not open random doors just standing there. Do not pick up random like spoons in the road.
Yeah. So, um, Irish, no. So the she,
The
it's that
Banshee.
weird
Yep.
word. If you ever see it written Sidhe, it's
Hmm.
pronounced she. So, so now you know something. We actually did give you some valuable content today. Woo! I know how to pronounce she now. Um, that's the
That's actually
term.
where the origin of Banshee came from because in Gaelic it's BAN space SIDHE
Yeah.
Banshee.
So what does the band mean? Do you know?
I should know because I studied it and it's
Okay.
gone from my brain.
So, another little tidbit for you. Fairies are bad, like in traditional, in the actual, like where these myths and legends and
They're
stuff
not.
come from, they are very bad. If the fae are involved, it's bad news. And the leprechauns are very evil, nasty little creatures. Like they were sort of the literal gremlin. Like if you can think of a gremlin, if they could get into your house, then they could wreak havoc. And but if you could catch one, you could barter with them for their life. And since their naughtiness is to get into your house and steal all your things, they are like dragons. They stash and hoard all of the stuff that they've gathered, which of course in mythology is gold, which makes you wonder if they're breaking into farmers' cottages and all the like. Um,
They're
I don't.
stealing brooms.
Yes, they're stealing buttons and
The
um,
cow.
yeah. So I don't know about the pot of gold, but that's where that legend comes from. So it took me a bit to clue in, to remember all that. But yeah, so for me, I love to I love my family heritage and I love learning about it and I have a personal life goal of learning to speak with a Scottish accent and just speaking with it all the time. I just want to one day show up and just be Scottish. And I don't care if that makes me weird. I'm already weird. So I feel like if people who knew me, my friends, like Anne, if I showed up and I was just talking like that, she'd be like,
Okay.
okay, right, we're doing
Let
this
me throw
now.
down some Gaelic.
So that's like a life goal, and I don't know why. It's weird and it's stupid, and I know whatever, but I want to do it. So I've been trying, but all I managed to do is a somewhat decent Irish accent. But of course, I can't. I don't know if I can just whip it out, cause. But for ever since my boys were little, on the 17th of March, I've always tried to speak with an Irish accent all day long, just for fun. I mean, St. Patty's Day is kind of boring when you don't drink and stuff. So you got to do
I don't
something.
know. I think it's a good time to whip out the stories and teach a
Yeah,
kid about their heritage.
totally. Yeah. So,
Tell them
I,
about the monsters.
yeah, I know. So all I know much about are the Scottish monsters. So do you want to talk about them or do you want to talk about luck or
Oh no, luck is next week.
more mythology? Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the myths? I know you know them all. So, um, tell us what you know about, like what mythological stories you know.
I wouldn't say I know them all. Like I know
Oh,
some, and um I know my favorite Celtic mythological creature is the Dinestre. He has the body of a man and the head of a lion. And what he does is he decapitates his victim on the side of the road and then sits there and cries over it. It's
oh
hilarious.
my. Oh my gosh.
And then of course you've got the banshee, which is banshees, and kelpies, which are water horses, but they kind of lure you like a mermaid would in a way of their beauty, and you're drawn to them, and
And
once you get on their back, they you cannot get off, like you are physically stuck to them,
they
and they
drive you down to the bottom of
yeah,
the
they
lake.
drown you. It's
But you
awesome.
know,
I love
I mean,
horses.
I was just gonna say, tell me true.
Horses can do no wrong, man.
Like if I saw a gorgeous, beautiful horse coming out of the water and he was like, you know, I want you to
Being
come
all
ride me.
friendly and
Yeah.
nuzzling me,
What would
and
I do? You bet your ponies
I'm gonna
I would
ride it.
be getting on that horse. And because hello. So, first I gotta say, hi, Lucia. We have
Hey,
a
welcome.
visitor and she is commenting, and I was totally lame and wasn't watching the chat. Um, so hi, Lucia. We're so happy you're here. She said that fairy tales tend to be made up and myths are passed down from generation to generation. So, and I don't know what I thought the stories passed down were called, but I don't think I thought they were mythology. Like honestly, I thought mythology was kind of sort of fake history, which it kind of sort of is. It's just not necessarily fake. It's just so, like last night, we watched a whole presentation about the Shroud of Turin. And so, for those who don't know, it is supposed to be the burial cloth, the linen cloth that Jesus was wrapped in when, like, just quickly wrapped in so that the ladies could get back, like, because they had to get it done before sunset because otherwise he would hang on the cross until Sunday. This was Friday afternoon. So they hurriedly, they didn't have time to like anoint him and do a proper burial. So he was not clean. Normally they would clean him and everything, but he was just wrapped up. This is Jesus. Did I even say that? I don't know if I
Yeah,
did.
you did.
Jesus. Okay. So they wrapped in this cloth, blah, blah. And then, if you know the story, they come back to do the anointing and he is gone, but the cloth is there. So,
With his face print on it.
yes, yes, with blood where wounds would be in appropriate places. And so this cloth, this burial cloth, has been shown, it was not in any kind of records or history until about 1300 or something. And the person who brought it to France was probably a Knight Templar, where so he had been living in Jerusalem, and they were actively collecting, the knights were, religious relics because they were being destroyed and different things. So they were collecting them to keep them safe. So it is possible that, and I could see somebody keeping that cloth. I don't know. So, but the fascinating thing about it is that it has undergone all of the testing that can possibly be done, and they cannot prove it to be a fake. They just can't prove that it's Jesus. And also, billions of people have been buried in a similar fashion and not had their imprint, um,
Burned into the cloth.
right. So, that's a myth. And, but people, thousands, millions probably believe it to be the, to be what it is, um, because the myth is strong and the religious conviction behind it is strong. And so that's one thing. I can't even remember what I was going to say about it. But oh, so from Jesus to Selkies. So it's Selkies, not Kelpies.
Yep.
I want to talk about,
Silkies are the seal. Oh, you want to talk about them? Because yeah, I'm totally in.
no, you can say, I want to talk about them because of all of the monsters in really all the different countries' stories that I know. They are not necessarily bad.
Yeah, they're more gentle.
Yeah, and their purpose is, okay, so for those who don't know, selkies are seals that would shed their seal skin and become human, usually a woman, a beautiful woman, and that beautiful woman would insert themselves into a man's life, family life, like the men would marry them, kind of thing. Like they would be in their life, and then they would disappear after some period of time. What?
So the way that I grew up hearing it is the Selkies would shed their skin, and if a man could capture the skin and take it away, keep it away from the Silky woman, she would basically be in servitude to him for life. Unless she found her skin again. And the reason she disappeared is because she would find the skin and get back in and go back to her people.
Right. So yes, but the purpose of the selkie it is thought to have been to help someone find something that was lost, like find something in themselves or whatever. I don't know. So I've heard like two stories about it. One is that they were there, they helped a family, like helped them feel love again, maybe after the loss of their mom or whatever, and then would disappear, and they were healthier and better off for having had the Selkie in their life. The other side is this more, a little more nefarious thing, like they're trapped there. Um, so I don't know. I like the nice one, but I'd never heard that one before until well, I mean, my granny told stories, but to be honest, I didn't understand a lot of them. So, like, even when I was younger, because maybe I wasn't ready for the darker kind of thing to them. But anyway, so, but I liked the idea that they could potentially be there to help,
Mhm.
like to comfort, you know? But I don't know. What is your favorite? So, is Scottish and Irish mythology your favorite, Anne?
Mainly just the Irish, though they do share similarities.
Mhm.
Um,
The
but yeah.
Irish is a lot more focused on the she, right? Like a lot more. I mean, even though we consider them all to be members of, like, they're all she, these creatures, they're all called fey creatures, but isn't fairies and like leprechauns and um elves and stuff more Irish? Or
Yeah,
is
I
it
think
all
so.
okay?
Yeah.
One thing I like is that nowadays, if you have some intuition or, um, you're a little bit psychic or you're a little bit magic or something, they call you Fey touched.
Mm,
It's not always a good thing. Like some people's fears and stuff are still very real. Like they still fear the Fey, and so if they think you're Fey touched, they won't like you. But I sort of like the accent thing. I want to be Fey touched. To me, I, I already feel like I'm Fey touched, but in my I think it's more on the touched. You're touched, Dolly. I wonder if that's where touched comes from. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. I gotta
I
Google that.
heard that if you have a freckle, I get it close enough. Hello, camera. Maybe I don't
Yeah,
know.
like
Anyway, on your wrist, it has to be as like okay. Here's the front of my wrist. If you have a
yes,
freckle right here,
yeah.
um, then you're like witchy or fey,
Oh,
and a lot of women
I
have
don't think
that.
I do. I'm like, no, I don't
I
know.
think I
I
think one
want
hand,
one.
if you have like a triangle of freckles in a certain place on one hand, then you're witch, and the other one you're fey.
And in
So
palmistry, like reading palms, X's X's formed on your palm indicate psychic talent or
hmm,
whatever. So
right.
like the more
But doesn't the
X's you
giant
have,
M make an X? So everybody
so
would be psychic.
like
Eh.
I don't know that one, but yeah, so I think that I like last week when we were talking, I'm like, I don't know any fairy tales. I think I like myths better and legends better. I don't think I've ever been really drawn to fairy tales, but I have been drawn to myths and legends because sort of it stirs up that same feeling in me that makes me want to know the my family stories and stuff, like, so I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. I like that little touch of could it be real? Or maybe it is real,
Yeah.
I like that. And I like it for like Egyptian mythology. That is fascinating. I watched Stargate and I was like, that's what happened. Like, to me, an alien came down and found the, primitive Egyptians, found a boy and was like, I can inhabit this boy's body. And then the rest is history. Became Ra and the pyramids were spaceships. I'm like, yes, that is the truth. There are stargates throughout the universe, and we just haven't found our gate.
I'll
Uh,
buy it.
yep. And King Arthur and his knights
Totally
eradic-
real.
eradicated magic from the UK, from Britain, and which I don't approve of, I don't think.
No,
I
no.
But that's what they did, and I'm like, yes, that is real.
Like one of my favorite series is Mist of Avalon.
Mhm.
Um Not so much like the tome that Marion Zimmer Bradley wrote, but the subsequent books like Forest House, Priestess of Avalon, all of those absolutely love where they talk about the
Same,
Isle
love
of
them.
Avalon and King Arthur and all that.
Yeah.
And even like Roman times.
Yeah. I love that series too. Also, Guy Gavriel Kay, he's a Canadian writer. He wrote a series called what are you called? It's The Summer Tree. Oh my gosh. It is my favorite series of all time. And now I can't remember, and it's now too far away for me to find it. Um it is kind of sort of it's a loose retelling of the King Arthur myth, but it's so beautiful. And like the Rings of Power, watching that last year was felt very Arthurian, like
Mhm.
the concept of the elves going beyond the mist once they, that the Lord of the Rings, like all of that stuff. Um so yeah, I love the books that have that touch of where the myth it's based on mythology that is from our world. And so then it kind of becomes a little bit of that, did that really happen or could that have happened? You know, I tend to think that we live in a magical that we live in a world where magic exists, and we've just become
Complacent.
desensitized to it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And not used it. It's like the magic of the earth. And so we didn't use it, so it goes away. It's like any other talent or strength or whatever. Like, I was on the cusp of getting my black belt, to bring it back to the dojo. Like, so I could do, and now, like, Anne is forever popping off with different things. And I'm like, I don't know anymore. I don't know anything anymore. And I most certainly do not have any kind of strength. And I could probably only do a roundhouse kick to like maybe my knee level, as opposed to like hip or
Hmm.
shoulder height, like we used to be able to do. So I think that's kind of like what magic is. And this does not confuse my belief in God. Like, to me, this is not a contradiction. I
Yeah,
would I would never worship the earth like it was a god, but I can cherish the earth because it gives me life,
yeah.
like
And you can find
um
harmony in it and
yeah,
with it.
exactly. I think God, so I do believe in one God, and I think I mean, we're told in the scriptures that everything on earth was created for our good. So if you like crystals or whatever, and I don't think I could. I've watched the shows where they've shown the like the vibration, like how different stones vibrate at different levels, and that like our human bodies respond to different. I'm like, again, that's like, I believe.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it is not a contradiction because
When
God created everything for our good. So if that means this crystal can help me feel better, you know what I mean?
yeah. When I see my friend that does Reiki, one of my favorite things is like the steel drum bowl, the sound bowl,
Hmm.
that it actually changes sound depending on your personal frequency and your
Oh,
emotions.
I don't think
And
I,
that's really cool because
yeah,
at the end of the day, everything is energy.
yeah.
And yeah, it goes back to the creator.
Hmm. My favorite masseuse, Holly. Holly, shout out to Holly in
Woohoo!
Midvale, Utah. I think Midvale. No, it's not Midvale. It's like I don't know where she is now. She's in Salt Lake Valley somewhere. Um, but sometimes I'm in too much pain. So here's a weird conundrum, or what? Not conundrum, or I don't know what the word is now. But like I can be in so much pain, and what is prescribed? Go see a masseuse
Whose
because
job is literally to make your muscles hurt and get all
right.
the toxins out.
So I go to her and I'm like, I need you to help me feel better, but you can't touch me. Or you can touch me like featherlight. Can you help me? And Holly's like, yes. So when I'm in too much pain to be touched, she does the singing bowls, the Tibetan singing bowls, which
Yeah, they're really
must be
cool.
similar to what you're talking about. And I will swear to you that she is this. So she'll do one and she'll set it singing and then set it onto my spine, my bare skin, and I feel that vibration down. I feel like I can envision, like if I can feel space opening like between my cells. But again, Tibetan singing bowls, thousands of years of tradition for them healing both mental and physical ailments. So I guess we should like in our last 12 minutes talk about how all these things work into storytelling.
I was
But I
gonna
think
say, I was gonna add since you did your lady, Liz at Two Trees, Reiki, and Pleasant Grove.
I really do love Reiki. Reiki because that's another one that I can get when I'm hurting. And they don't even, so Reiki, they don't even touch your body, right?
Yeah,
It is just
they just
energy
do like
work,
the
like the,
magic voodoo dance over you, and
yes,
it actually
and
works.
it does.
It's
And it's
wild.
weird, and I don't get it. And I want to be skeptical. I was skeptical, but so that's why, like, when I write, sometimes I tell, probably all fantasy writers have run into this somewhere along the line where someone asks, well, what do you write? And you say, oh, I write fantasy. And they're like, oh, because somehow if you're writing fantasy, then maybe you're not an intellectual person or something.
Yeah.
And, because you're just making
Well,
crap up.
then you're insulting Brandon Sanderson.
I
So,
mean, right? Shout out to
I mean,
Brandon
yeah,
for
he's basically
helping
God
us
here
with
in Utah.
Audible and everything else. But yeah, and I think fantasy is our opportunity to explore these wonders that are in our own real world. Like, you don't even have to go and create something from scratch. You
Mhm.
could write an entire story built around the magic of singing bowls
Yeah.
or Reiki. You know what I mean? Like, and I find that so fascinating because is it fantasy or is it like alternate history kind of stuff? Like,
Mhm.
um, I don't know. It's just anything that is what would happen if or what if. And I think being a writer is awesome and is so much fun. And if you're on the fence about whether or not you're going to write, by George, just
Just do
go
it.
write it.
One of the quotes I've read recently that I really love is somebody says, well, you can't learn anything because fiction or whatever, fiction isn't real and nonfiction is the truth. And they were corrected and said, nonfiction is learning through facts and fiction is learning through imagination. So fantasy, again, goes back to learning about origins and
I
all that
love
good
that.
stuff.
Do you know who said that quote?
No, it's just like a thing that's been floating around Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. I really like that because and I was talking to my Aunt Jean today, and I realized as I was talking to her, because lately I've been thinking a lot about self-improvement and why so many people I know have not engaged in any kind of self-reflection or improvement or growth. And I was thinking it was sort of like my writer friends versus my non-writer friends. My writer friends tend to be a little more into the personal growth, and my non-writer friends, not so much. And I realized I wonder if it has to do with character development, because as we are writing characters, um, and we see a fault that we recognize in ourselves appear as our one of our characters, but we have to help them grow and overcome, that fault. Kind of can't help but learn a little bit and grow as our character has grown. So like we're kind of dedicating our lives to personal development. It's
Yeah,
just in the guise of our characters. And same with experimenting with the truths or possible truths of this life, right? Like,
yeah.
so my
So,
yes, ma'am.
oh, I was gonna say, North Oak, is my excuse to examine and look at tough social issues that kids have to deal with.
Yes. Well, and that's one of the sorry, I keep bonking my desk. One of the things that Dave Farland often taught in his class, and I don't think it didn't originate with him, but that's just the source that I heard it from, was that fantasy is the safe place to especially for youth, but for everyone, to learn and grow safely, to tackle difficult subjects and concepts without it feeling threatening to their current lives. But it's almost like subliminal teaching, you know? Because we're enjoying the story, but ooh, slipped in there is like a great theme, a great moral that we can use to better ourselves if
Yeah.
we want to. So, so my kata for everyone today
Wait, wait,
is,
wait, 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 wait. We
okay,
have to examine if we achieved our kata from last
that's
week,
right. That's right.
which I don't remember what
I
it
don't remember
was.
what it was. I know that it has something to do with fairy tales.
Yeah.
Um, oh my gosh. Why are we're so lame. I don't know. We were like, next time we need to be sure we keep track of this. And so good job, Anne. You remembered to ask for a report. I just have completely forgotten what that was supposed to be.
Okay, what did you achieve to advance your writing career this week?
So this week I've spent it almost entirely working on presentations that I'm giving at a story makers. Um, so I mean, but that doesn't advance my writing career. I think that's a
I mean, it will because you're presenting at Storymakers.
yeah, but I've sort of come that to me is sort of like I don't know. Yes, okay. So I mean like I was working in the business adjacent vicinity. And I was working on a class on character development. So, I learned stuff as I was putting it down and everything. So that was good. But I also have been brainstorming some other story ideas. and also thinking. I've been doing a lot of thinking, and that totally counts here in the dojo.
Hmm.
So for me, the wonderful news is I continue to feel inspired and excited about my writing. Even though I haven't actually been writing, that is huge for me because for the past like year and a half, I haven't even really been able to think about it without feeling like I was dumb, or like I couldn't.
Hmm.
So I feel like I have finally, for reals, kicked those nasty gremlins out. And so I'm just feeling good. I'm feeling good about my writing career. How about you,
Good.
Anne?
I figured out that I need to break down. So I make an outline for the book, and from each chapter, I actually need to take the chapter and break it down into um, scene
Hmm.
beats,
Yeah.
and that helps me flesh it out a lot better. Also, I did some market research for a new series,
Yay, you
and
finally broke past that
I
that
got back
barrier.
to it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And here's the really big thing. I gave myself
Yes.
permission to write things that were not my current projects.
Yay.
And so some new things went up on Ream. Um,
Oh,
if you haven't heard about Ream, dear listener, you need to go to reamstories.com. It's to the globe.
slash Ann Hunter.
Ann Hunter, yeah, yeah, it
I
is
think
Ann
it's just
Hunter.
Ann
Hey.
Hunter.
And
I'm sure you'd find her even.
because I'm very much an all or nothing type person, and I I feel like I can't write anything else until I finish
Right. Because
this
we've talked about
project.
that before.
Yeah. So I gave myself permission to write in other
Good
areas,
job.
and I think it helped.
Good. I'm glad it helped me. It like that. So I got that advice from Terry Schott, who's a coach at the Better Faster Academy with Becca Syme. And because I was coaching with him, and he said, give yourself like, don't be like, boom, Allie, this is what you have to work on. Slave driver, whip, push, shove, whatever. Give yourself 3 projects that are all acceptable, because if you have that slightly rebellious personality or your ADHD and you can't stay in one story, the whole time, or you're just trying to find your voice again. Sometimes it's so like that was the breakthrough for me, being able to go, it's okay for me. I don't have to finish this book X before I can work on anything else. I will finish X, but
Mhm.
for now, I want to experiment with Y or with Z. And that's been really refreshing to me. And I'm excited for you because I passed that on to you at one point, and you're like, nope,
Oh,
I'm an
yeah,
all or
it's
nothing
really
person and I've
hard.
got to
Yeah, it's
finish
really
the thing.
hard.
Yeah, I get it. It is hard. But it feels so good to be writing again.
It's freeing. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so exciting. And the cool thing about it is it makes you want to work on your stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's great. Okay, so our kata for this next week, and I'm going to put it in the chat so that I can look back and see it. I mean, I probably could be more better and put it somewhere else, but I'm going to put it here for now. So, kata for this week is.
You could put it in our schedule that we have in Google Docs.
I haven't found that yet. I need to
Oh, I gave you
go.
the link. I'll send it again.
Okay. Okay, so the kata for the week is I want you to find a family story or a myth or legend from your family heritage and come up with a story concept based on that legend or myth. So very similar to, I mean, it's just a different source to look for inspiration. Even like I mentioned about the singing bowls. That is one thing. Singing bowls do they really, are they really magical, or what is the science? Like, you don't even have to go fairy tale per se. You could go sci-fi into a world that is built on harmonics and sound resonance and different things.
Oh, okay. Spoiler. If I don't know if, okay, so I finally watched the Marvels that I
Uh-huh.
want to go see with you, and one of the places they visit is this planet where they all communicate by singing, and you can't speak.
Oh,
You have to sing it. So,
that's
yes,
funny. Yeah, I
continue.
mean, it could be whatever you want. So that's my, and we would absolutely adore it if you left a comment saying, I kind of, I looked at this myth and now I have a story concept, whatever. You don't have to go into detail, but you can. We would enjoy it. Um, just, I know a lot of people are sensitive about sharing the specialness of their ideas. But so go forth, mine your family and your family history for cool stories that could become even cooler stories under your amazingly talented, imaginative hands. I don't know that hands are imaginative, but. And for now, oh yeah, how do we do it? I still don't
Um,
remember how to sign out.
I still think we should bow out. I think it's cool.
Okay, well, just, I gotta like move my
No, you could
armrests or
just, yeah, you could
something.
just, you know, big proud shoulders, arms at your side. Gunye, you bow. And Pensamada.
Dismissed.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, everybody. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, wait. Oh, no, shoot. Okay. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, bye. Bye, bye. Bye, bye. Bye, everybody. Bye. Bye. And we're off.